back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and today I am doing something a little bit different. I feel like I've been saying that with quite a few of my videos lately. I guess it's just all the random things that I have on my mind that I want to share. But today is the first day of school for our family, and we homeschool, as you probably know if you've been here for any length of time. Today is my daughter's first day of 7th grade. So I'm gonna do a little bit of a day in the life to kind of show you how we homeschool and how that looks for us, although I don't know how accurate the first day is. The first day is always a little funky as we're getting our footing and getting back into the habit of regularly doing school again. And I know that that is the same whether you are homeschooling, whether you do public school, private school, whatever. It's always an adjustment to go from a more structure-free summer to now back to the grind. So I wanted to show you kind of like what a typical day of school looks like when we are starting school up again, but I also wanted to share with you what we're going to be working on this term. So the methodology that I use for teaching is Charlotte Mason's methods, and she is a little different from a traditional educational viewpoint. She is very, very literature based, but that's not the only thing that differentiates her from other styles. She also values narration, telling things back in your own words as a way to kind of cement information and make it your own, in addition to providing a very wide variety of subjects. And she actually called it a feast. So it's almost like a buffet where there's just a little bit of everything. And as a result, when I get into showing you our homeschool cart with all of our stuff on it, you'll see that there's a wide variety of subjects that we look at and things that we study. So it's just kind of like little pieces here, and then there are a lot of connections that are made as time progresses. And we just really love Charlotte Mason's methods because it really focuses on the child as a whole person and not just a vessel to fill with information, but they are actually like their own full human beings with their own desires and interests and learning styles that work best for them. So I really appreciate her outlook on education, and it really resonated with me when I first decided that I wanted homeschool and was looking into different methods. So that's just a little tiny overview. There's a lot more information that you could find out about Charlotte Mason's teaching styles, but I really admire her. And we're not purists in that every single thing we do is very strictly Charlotte Mason, but it is where we get a lot of the inspiration for what we do. Since my daughter is getting older and is, I guess, officially in junior high this year, I feel like junior high is 7th and 8th grade, right? But now they don't usually say junior high, they say middle school, which is 6th through 8th grade. So she was already in middle school, but now I guess technically junior high. 7th grade seems so much older than 6th grade, and I don't know why. But anyways, as she's getting older, there's more and more work that she is doing independently, and technically she could do everything independently if she wanted to, or if that was what needed to happen for me. But I really love the connection that we have when we do things together. So there are always things that I choose to read aloud to her and that I choose to do with her that she could do on her own. But part of the reason that I homeschool is that I really want to enjoy my time with her and just savor every moment, because it's only a certain amount of time that we get our children before they end up being adults in the wide world. So I definitely choose to keep some things as things that we do together. Anyways, it's actually time to go wake her up. I have been up for probably like an hour and a half, so spent time drinking some coffee, reading my Bible, reading other books that I am currently working on, and then I took a shower and started this video. And now I am going to go get her up, and then I am going to start breakfast. I actually typically don't make breakfast for her and haven't for years, but on the first day of school we have a traditional breakfast that I always make for her, and I have done this literally since she was like in preschool, first day of school. It's super simple and super easy. They're banana oat pancakes that you make in the blender, so I will show you that when we get to that point. But yeah, it's time to start our day. Okay, so we're starting our day. This is our hymn for the month. We learn a different hymn every month. And then we have art study, and our artist this term is Albrecht Dürer. So we looked at this 4 horsemen of the apocalypse wood carving, which was very interesting. And then our poet is Robert Frost. So we each read a Robert Frost poem.
So if you have a Korean friend around, or if you're living in Korea, if you haven't used these expressions so far, please try to use them as often as possible. So what was the first one again?
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. The second one is
감사합니다.
감사합니다.
So this is the aftermath of a first day of school. A big pile of books. Hello, I'm going to share my homeschool cart with you, or our homeschool cart, I should say. It has 3 tiers to it. So this is the top tier, and I'm going to try to move the camera down as I go down. Gus is here on the floor next to me, and he's snoring, so it's loud, but the dogs are always with us when we do school. So this is the top one, and this is mostly things that we do together, but it's also just books that are so tall that they won't fit in the other tiers. So the first book that we have here is a science book. So this is Exploring Creation with the Human Anatomy and Physiology by Apologia, I think. And Claire has this science notebook that she can do some science journaling in, and then she has some other science that she's doing. It's actually the next shelf down, but I'll just hold it up because we're talking about science. She's also learning the mystery of the periodic table, along with this super cool book, which I think I shared in my video that I did with a haul of all the homeschool books that I bought for this year. So this has like really cool pictures of just different elements and stuff. So that is going to be paired along with the periodic table book. And then she also has like some science biographies that she's gonna read throughout the year. The next 2 books are super cool. So it's Material World and then Hungry Planet. If you saw my video last year, we've used these for years because they accompany the geography course that we use. So we do Simply Charlotte Mason's geography course, and a lot of the other stuff that we use is from Ambleside Online, and we don't do them for geography because I really like how Simply Charlotte Mason does it. So they have map drills that they're doing, and then they supplement it with Material World and Hungry Planet, which has like some information about different places. And so it'll have pictures of the food that they eat and the family, and like how much they spend on a week's worth of groceries and what they have gotten for that. And then Material World has pictures of the people and their houses in different countries, and then them standing outside with like all of their possessions like in the yard. So it's really cool, these 2, and it just kind of gives a context of how life is very different in other countries. I think the photos in these were taken in either the 80s or 90s, so there is some dated information here obviously, but it still communicates really clearly the differences in different countries. Next we have one of our history books. This is Answering the Cry for Freedom. This is all about the influence of Black people in the American Revolution, and I think maybe beyond. I don't know if it's only the American Revolution, it might be. So there's that, and then we also have this history timeline notebook, which we haven't used yet. I bought it last year, we haven't used it, so hopefully we can actually use it this year. But it's really cool because you can just put different things on the timeline and kind of see people who were living at the same time and stuff like that. We have tracing paper. That's for geography too, because she has to trace maps at various points of different countries. The continent that she's studying this year is Africa, so she will be learning about the different countries in Africa and learning to label them, but then different countries she'll have to trace them and make maps herself of them. She also has this. This is her 7th grade notebook. We've bought one of these every year, and it's really great to contain her narrations and different things she might need to record throughout the school year. We have like a dot grid on one side and then lined on the other with a space for the date at the top. So if she's doing like a written narration of something, she'll write it here. If she has to draw something, she'll draw it on this page, or something that requires to paste or whatever, we can also put on these pages. Next up is a foreign language. So we are doing Korean this year, which I've talked about multiple times. I'm really excited. We've been brushing up on our Korean pronunciation over the summer, and we'll be starting with Talk to Me in Korean, so it's really exciting. Our literature pick for the first part of the year is The Hobbits, which we've read before, but it is what Ambleside Online recommends, and I thought about substituting it with something we hadn't yet read, but it's been a few years since we read this. I read it actually last year, but not with Claire, on my own, so it'll be something that we can read together this year. For language arts, we are doing Fix It Grammar. This particular level is level 1, and it is actually below Claire's current language art capability. But the way that this works is that you're given different sentences and you have to like label them and correct them, kind of like an editor. And so there are different marks that you use for different things, and I wanted her to get used to the format of it, and then we'll hop into the next level. So we are starting with the first level, but I think that we're gonna fly through it and we're gonna do more than like one day at a time. This is just the student book. The next couple of books are all related to Robert Frost because he's our poet this year. So I have this children's illustrated version of some of his poetry. And then this is so beautifully illustrated. This is it Walking Through the Woods on a Snowy Evening? Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening. And it's illustrated. So we'll read this poem at some point, but I love the illustrations in this one. And then I have this volume of his works. Next, I don't know if we're going to use this or not for art this year. I'm waiting to see what our homeschool group is doing because I haven't taught art to Claire the whole time that we've lived here because our homeschool group actually pretty much always has an art class. So I have been able to just use them for that and not been required to teach art on my own. So this is the book that I have that I was planning to use, but Claire was also telling me she wishes she could draw better. So we may be doing some drawing lessons as well. Rounding off, this is our Ambleside Online schedule, and everything that's highlighted is her independent work, and then everything else is things that we do together. So most of her work is independent this year, and then I have this planner for her that I have scheduled out all the things that she does for each day, and then she checks them off, so that just makes it a little easier for her. All right, we are down to the next tier, which is smaller, and you can see that I kind of just have things together so that way they're not flopping everywhere, because I feel like the books flop everywhere if there aren't enough of them. So these are mostly things that she is doing on her own. She's almost done with this book, Trial and Triumph. This is stories about church history and different figures in church history, and we've been working on this from like the very beginning almost with Ambleside Online. And then we have her scientific biography for this term, which I already mentioned. So Ordinary Genius, this is about, as you can see, Albert Einstein, and she'll have a different biography of a different scientific figure every term, and that is how Charlotte Mason's style education usually works, is that rather than things being divided into semesters or quarters, they're in 3 12-week terms. So this will be spread out, I was gonna say over the course of 12 weeks, but it's actually shorter, so it ends up being, I think, more like 8 weeks. Then her main history spine for this term is Story of the World Volume 4. So this, I think, starts around the Civil War and then continues through modern history. I don't know when the last date is in here. Looks like the last event that's in here is like the independence of Africa and the first Persian Gulf War. So it goes up through that point. And then she has another biography of a historical figure. So she's going to be reading about Winston Churchill. She has been working through this over several years, Bullfinch's mythology. So she will continue working through it this year. As you can see, she's a little over halfway, but it's been spread out over time. So she ends up with like one myth or so a week. So it's really spread out. It has a lot of poetry in this. So I think that that can make it a little difficult because it's not quite as straightforward, but she's also being exposed to a lot of poetry, which is awesome. We are using Tales from Shakespeare to introduce Shakespeare plays. We have been doing this for years. Last year, what we did is we read the story in here, and then we went through the actual play, taking time to like divvy out the lines and decide who's going to be which character. And so we'd read it together out loud that way, and then we watched a performance. So we're kicking off this year with Macbeth, which is Claire's favorite Shakespeare play, but she hasn't read the whole play. She's read the graphic novel and other children's adaptations. So we're gonna read this together and then go through the actual play, which I don't yet have on this cart. I need to grab that actually, but I won't need it till next week at least. Another read aloud that we're doing together is A Journey to Joburg. So this is tying in with geography. So that will be really interesting. I've had this book for forever. It is so short. But last year we didn't squeeze in a whole lot of books or fiction surrounding geography, and I wanted to, and this year she's doing a lot more independently. So I figured we could work on this together. And the last book that's here is also for science. This is called It Couldn't Just Happen, and so this is kind of evidence for creationism and intelligent design and all of that kind of stuff. I don't know if this bottom tier is really going to be of that much interest to you because it's not things that we're doing this term. They are books that I have for the future terms, so they're just all together. Let me see if I can lower it down some more. This is as low as it goes, so I don't know. So we're going to be finishing American history and then going through to ancient history. So these are the spines for that. Ooh, the dog just moved. Then we have some more science biographies, Archimedes and Galileo. We have some retellings of the Iliad and the Odyssey. We have Caesar Augustus's World, which is yet another history spine, and the Bible, Genesis and Finding Our Roots, and I don't know, what's this last one? Oh, The Dreamkeeper. This is a collection of Langston Hughes poetry because we're doing that next. And then this is just a stack of books that we may or may not get to. So they're books of like either literature or they're more of like African books, kind of like Journey to Joburg to kind of support that. So I've kind of gathered some other books because there's a lot of books that she is reading independently this year. So I have more time to add more books that I want to read out loud to her. So I have some that are historical fiction, some that are based in Africa, like I said, and then just some other random literature books that are a potential to add in just depending on how much time we end up having. So that's our homeschool cart. If you have any questions about anything, let me know, but those are our main spines this year. We may also return a bit to Brave Writer because we really love Brave Writer's language arts, but I just wanted to try something a little bit different this year in terms of grammar, which is why we're doing Fix-It Grammar instead of just Brave Writer. But we may include some Brave Writer arrow guides in addition to Fix-It Grammar because we may be reading books that I have Brave Writer guides for anyway, so it's an opportunity to continue to reinforce just different grammatical things we're already learning in Fix-It Grammar or whatever. So I'm kind of playing that part by ear, but I really do love Brave Writer. I just wanted to try something a little bit different this year to kind of solidify some of the grammatical stuff that we've been working on, thus the switch to Fix-It Grammar. I also have some binders that I could probably flip through and show you that has some creative writing stuff in it, and then we're also going to be working on constructing different types of essays this year, which is very important that we haven't done a whole lot of in that case so far. She's done like written narrations, but we haven't worked on actually learning about different types of essays and composition and actually constructing, you know, like persuasive essays and those kinds of things. So that's something else that we're going to be working on probably later this year. I think I'm going to kick off with some more creative writing until we get more in the flow of things before I add yet another thing to kind of our to-do list. So that's probably where we're going with that. It'll probably be September or October where we end up picking up more of the essay writing. Okay, so this is Claire's 7th grade binder. She has a copy of her hymn in there as well. This is her geography, so it's got a map in the front, and then this is kind of what it looks like in terms of mapping. It'll show you where it is, and then you kind of like test yourself to try to figure out where they are. And then you get to various parts, and you'll see, like this is from one of the books from Hungry Planet, and you answer these questions after you've read this section. The next section is creative writing. This is actually from Intentional Homeschooling, which is Chantel Reads All Day's homeschooling channel. So it's got creative writing prompts, and Claire's been wanting to work more on her writing this year, so that'll be super fun. And then I have Seven Sisters group for middle school guide to essay writing. So this is actually like a 10-week program with just different things. So persuasive essays, it has all kinds of different essays I think in here. So it's got formatting, thesis statements, comparing, contrasting, literature analysis, persuasive essays, editorials, all kinds of different stuff. So this is her binder. And then I have mine, which I kind of showed you a little bit. It's right here. I showed you how I had, right here is just a list of what we're doing in terms of composers, artists, hymns, and poets. And then there's our hymn that I already mentioned. And then this is after we do Robert Frost, we have Carl Sandburg, and then we're moving on to Langston Hughes. And then this is the art that I already showed you. This is a Brave Writer guide. This is actually a boomerang guide and not an arrow guide. And so I think we're going to read Number of the Stars maybe after Journey to Joburg, we'll see. And then we may do some of this, which you teach the grammar from copywork passages. They write it down and then you have them, like, you point out different grammatical things throughout there, and then different like literary devices and writing things as well. That's pretty much it for my binder. So yeah, so that's our stuff that we have for this year.
And I saw them knock you unconscious, all right?
Hello, it is now a couple of days later. So does that make this more than a day in the life? I don't know. Also, the washer's going, but I'm not going somewhere more quiet because I have a cat in my lap, so I don't feel like moving. Anyway, I'm coming on here a couple of days later to wrap this up because Tuesday afternoon to Tuesday evening I started really not feeling very well, and now it's Friday and I just wanted to pop on here and wrap this up. But I also wanted to mention that I forgot to tell you when I was doing our homeschool cart what we're doing for math, because math is not on the homeschool cart. We are actually continuing to use teaching textbooks, which is all computerized, which is really, really handy. We actually started using it a couple years ago when I just needed to kind of take something off my plate and not have to actively teach math. And so teaching textbooks has worked amazingly for us the last couple of years, and Claire's just flying through it and she really enjoys it. So we're using that, but it also can be an app, so you can have it on your computer or you can have it on like an iPad or a Kindle or a phone. Like, it's on like Android stores and everything else, so you just pay for it and then you can just download the app for whatever grade you're using. It's working really well for us. So it has like a video lecture and then like questions that you select and everything, and it's just like, Claire loves it because you can personalize it and customize it with like themes and like stickers and pictures and all kinds of stuff. But anyways, that was pretty much the rest of my day in the life. We finished school before lunchtime, our time together, and then Claire usually has lunch and then does her independent work. Then afterwards we do the stuff that you saw in the afternoon, with doing some chores and some swinging or reading or other things. And now the cat is moving. Anyway, that's pretty much what we're doing, and our first week of school is just about over and it's going really, really well. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to leave them in the comments of this video. And thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me, and also occasionally homeschooling content. And I will see you again next time.